Bills and Cardinals. And Howard, one of the storylines that I haven't heard a lot about this week, but I'm sure we will the next 24, 48 hours, is the new look offense for the Buffalo Bills with Joe Brady. I mean, he takes over for Dorsey middle of last year. They win, I think, 7 of 8 or 6 of 7, whatever it may have been, and how he's going to be with Josh Allen. Do you feel like that is something that, it's hard to kind of game plan because you're really not sure what Joe Brady's going to do with this offense? Because, they lost a lot of guys, too, with Diggs and some of the other guys. But
that's the big thing. Yeah, that's the big thing, I think. I think you can get a pretty good feel for what he plans to do with the offense. But a lot of it, obviously, personnel. And they lose 2 really good receivers. And I think a big part of, what they were able to do also in that second half of the season is run the ball. And, obviously, everyone wants to talk about the Cardinals and, the pass rush and the pass rush and the pass rush. And that's all anybody wants to talk about. But you have to stop the run first before you can even get to the pass rush. And the Cardinals weren't very good against the run last year. And the Bills, everyone's talking about Josh Allen and all the things he can do, which is understandable. But this James Cook is a really good back. And I think that's going to be a key for the Cardinals is, keeping him down, limiting explosive plays, forcing him to pass, which, of course, we'll see what happens with those receivers. Josh Allen, a very difficult guy to sack, guys. I mean, I did a story this week on Cards Wire. There's only three quarterbacks in the NFL were sacked fewer than 30 times last season. That was Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, and Josh Allen. And Allen was the fewest at 24 the entire season, and he rushed for 15 touchdowns. We all know, though, that one of Allen's Achilles heels is sometimes he'll make that bad decision and throwing the ball and result in a turnover. And I think that is what the Cardinals have to do, I think, is at least get some pressure and get him off his comfort level when he's having to throw. Even if you don't sack him, if you can force an ill-advised pass and perhaps get a turnover, then that could be the difference in the game. But once again, like I said, it comes back to stopping the run. And we're going to talk about it next week when they play the Rams, because Kyren Williams, the running back of the Rams, just killed the Cardinals in both games last season. So that to me is the biggest thing that this team has to answer this year is that run defense. And then the other things I think will hopefully follow. But if you don't stop the run, then man, it's awful tough to stop a team consistently running or passing.
This seems to be the most healthiest team the Cardinals have had in several years on opening day. I mean, there may be one questionable. I think it's Weaver's only questionable individual. But depth-wise, from A to Z, 1 to 53, it looks as though everybody will be on board for this opening game.
Yeah, it sure looked that way. Now, obviously, it was tough losing B.J. Ojolari and Darius Robinson for the first 4 games. And, of course, those are 2 guys that are probably going to be used in that pass rush and against the run with Robinson. And so it's tough to lose them. But, yeah, the rest of the roster, you mentioned Weaver. He didn't practice these first 2 days. I would say he probably won't play this week. He's got an oblique injury. Added to the report today was Joey Blunt, who a lot of people don't know about, number 32 on your roster, who's a backup safety, but a pretty darn good special teams player. So if he can't go, then that could affect those units. But in terms of overall, it's a pretty healthy football team with only 3 guys listed, 2 that didn't practice today, and then the rookie tight end Tip Ryman, who's limited with an ankle injury, and they certainly would like to use him in some of the running downs that the Cardinals will be in on offense.
Howard Balzer's our guest on the Right Toyota guest line. Howard, let me kind of follow up with what you were stating in the first few minutes of this interview. I like the Bills' chances. I'm going to take them with the points. I don't know if they'll win the game outright, but I believe that they will be good enough against a depleted roster for the Buffalo Bills because of all the players that they have lost, and they have a weakened secondary as well. So to me, that means Kyler Murray should have success.
Yeah, he definitely should. That's going to be the key for the Cardinals to have a chance, obviously, is on that offense and to do all the things that we know that they're capable of. And the question is, can you do it coming right out of the box when you really haven't played together that much? Certainly in practice they did. The practice against the Colts was important. And so can you hit the ground running with that offense. And like you said, that secondary, I mean, DeMar Hamlin, one of the great stories in the NFL, he was in danger of not even making the roster last year.
Yep.
He only played in 5 games at safety for them, and it was more as a backup and on special teams. It was inactive for 12 games. He's starting now because of the safeties that they have lost. So you're right. They've got some issues back there in the secondary, and with the Cardinals going to come out, I'm sure they're going to run it with James Conner and mix it up in the passing game. That could be an area that they have. I would think they have to score in the 20s and maybe 30 in this game to have a chance at winning. But covering, I'm with you, Jimmy B. I think they've got a pretty good chance of covering. I'm surprised it's not a little higher, actually, though, than 6.5. But I think it's for those who just have questions about the Bills, or still like a team, as you guys pointed out, finished the season strong and lost to the Super Bowl champs, the Chiefs, in the playoffs by 3 points.
Yes.
So this is still a well-coached, good football team, but they have some questions to answer, and week 1 can always be a tough time to answer those issues.
Howard, I know that Dennis Gardeck's going to start at strong side linebacker, but in passing situations, I would imagine that Coach Ross will bring Xavier Thomas in as far as the pass rush. How long do you think before Xavier Thomas is a full-time starter at that position and takes over Gardeck's spot?
Well, I think the thing you raise is against the run. How good will he be there on those running downs? And they rotate a lot of guys anyway. I mean, even if you look at Zaven Collins and Gardeck last year as starters, they didn't play a huge percentage of the stats. They rotate a lot of guys in there. So I think we're going to see that. I think we will see Thomas, like you said, in those passing situations. Hopefully they get to enough of them. And then when he starts showing up, I mean, maybe he does get in. But you still, I'm not sure how quickly you want him out there when you're going to be playing the teams that they're going to be playing that have good running attacks, how good he'll be against the run. But that'll be for the coaches to decide. But I think he's definitely a wild card for this team this season with that pass rush, maybe the best athlete of the group in there. And we'll see how many snaps he gets. And like I said, how many times the Cardinals can get the Bills in those known pass situations where you don't want to go too hard at Josh Allen, because obviously he can get out of the pocket and run, but at least get him off his comfort zone and see what you can do with that. But you don't want to get beat by him with his legs either, because he can do that. Like I said, over 500 yards rushing last season and 15 rushing touchdowns.
Is there an upset brewing?
It could be. I mean, we know anything can happen in the NFL. I'm not going to predict a win.
Yeah, I know you're not.
It wouldn't surprise me if they do. But I'll say this: you never want to look ahead too much. Someone asked me yesterday. I said, "Is this a real key game?" And you never want to put too much into one game. I always say, after the first game of the season in the NFL, there's 16 fan bases that think their team is going to the Super Bowl, and the other 16 are looking for a bridge to jump off. But I think the big game is really next week. I mean, because I think if they lose to the Bills, everyone will say, well, they expected it. What you want to see is a good showing in a competitive game. But home against the Rams in week 2, a division game where the Cardinals didn't win any last season, I think that could end up being a more important game than this one, especially if they would lose to the Bills, because if you then lose to the Rams and all of a sudden you're facing the Lions the next week and you're staring 0-3 in the face.
Howard Balzer, Cards Wire, USA Today, Twitter, HBalzer721. As always, Howard, thank you so much. Look forward to catching up with you next week and find out what happened in this game.
All right, guys, take care. Have a good one.
That's Howard Balzer joining us, and he is today brought to you by Twin Peaks. And now through the 11th, that's only September 11th, Twin Peaks will allow guests the opportunity to give back by donating to the Tunnel to Towers. The nonprofit builds custom-designed smart homes for those injured veterans and first responders, as well as kind of help some of the homeless and aid to the victims of major U.S. disasters. For every $5 donated to the organization, Twin Peaks will offer a $5 bonus card that can be redeemed between September 12th through the end of the month. So really cool. Give 5, get 5 to the Tunnel to Tower. So good stuff through the 11th. We'll finish up here. Rock and Manuch, we're going to do a little Learn in a Row rewind for our 20-year anniversary. That's next. Rocco Manucci, GMB, Fox Sports 910.
Valley traffic from the Valley Toyota Dealers Traffic Center.
There is an accident on Litchfield Road.